Hello, folks, and welcome to tonight's Out of the Park Baseball 17 stream. I am your host and community manager, TJ Lauerman, a.k.a. That Sports Gamer. Tonight, we are joined by a phenomenal guest, Paul Sporer, writer for Fangraphs, host of the Sleeper and the Bust podcast over on Fangraphs, and just a good all-around guy. Paul, welcome to the stream.
TJ, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing very good. It's been a big day, as you obviously know. We've got 3 new Hall of Fame inductees, Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, and Ivan Rodriguez. Not to mention, we also get Bud Selig and John Sherholtzen this year.
Big day, as you mentioned. You know, it doesn't feel like 3 never really feels like a big number. But when you're talking about something like the Hall of Fame, putting in multiple guys, anytime there's multiple guys, it's a pretty big year. And, you know, we got to start when I say like chiseling down this ballot, it's not that I like want to rush through it, but I'm saying like it's becoming such a thick ballot of guys who are worthy Hall of Famers that we got to start getting some people in. So it was nice to see 3 guys go in, another 2. Trevor Hoffman was literally 1 vote away, and Vlad Guerrero was very close as well. They look like shoo-ins for next year. So, yeah, a good day for sure. You can quibble about some of the other stuff, but I think you look at all 3 of these guys, it's hard to say that they don't belong in, all 3 of them.
Yeah, it was that 2013 year that really kind of caused this whole backlog when nobody got in. But actually 4 guys on that ballot ended up getting in so far.
Exactly. And it is interesting that you point that out, because it does show what like just 1 year of nobody can do to the ballot. And now it's kind of created this backlog. And we've had a couple, what do we have? Maddox, Thomas, and Glavine went in together in 14. We had 3 last year. And wait, was it 4 last year? It was 4.
No, it was 2 last
Pedro.
year. We had, I was just looking at it. In 2016, we had
excuse me. I was
Griffey
thinking
and Piazza.
2015. Pardon me. I was going back to BGO, Johnson, Pedro, and Smoltz. So the fact that we've been having multiples each of the last 4 years has really helped. But it would have been nice to have 2 or 3 go in on that 2013, and we'd be even closer to kind of clearing up this backlog. But I'm very happy for the 3 that went in. I think all 3 were quite deserving, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm still a little disappointed that Bagwell and Biggio didn't go in together. I thought that would have been
great.
Nice. Because I mean, we got Maddox and Smoltz in together, so I can live with that. I guess
it would have been great. They deserve to. I think Bagwell took a lot of heat for suspicion, not even anything that was really corroborated, just out and out suspicion. And that's when you really get into the witch hunt stuff. If you want to make your case against Bonds and Clemens, and now, of course, A-Rod and Manny, who A-Rod's nowhere near yet because I still don't think he's fully retired. But when he gets there and Manny's already on the ballot, if you want to get in on those 2 because they actually have tests where they failed, I got you. And even if you want to get in on Clemens and Bonds because they've got some other stuff that can be a little bit more corroborated, I get it. But the stuff that Bagwell went through, which was pure speculation, I don't agree with that.
Yep, I agree. So people aren't just hearing us talk. I also have I'm going to have a game of the 1986 Montreal Expos facing off against the 1994 Houston Astros.
Very cool.
That was Bagwell's MVP season, and I believe Raines finished 4th in the MVP that year.
In 86?
Yeah.
That was his era. You know, one of the things, because there has been some dispute of people that are like, well, Raines, really? I think part of what he suffers from was playing in Montreal. Like that's definitely part of it, that there is some, we talk about East Coast, West Coast bias here in the States by themselves. But when you get into something where it's Canada versus USA, I think there's some United States bias. And the fact that he wasn't in the internet era, I think left Raines undercovered for his era. Plus, he had to go up against the best leadoff hitter ever, which was, of course, Ricky Henderson. And so being second best just wasn't drawing the same accolades.
Yeah, I do really wonder if without Jonah Carey's assistance, would Tim Raines have made it into the Hall of Fame?
Probably not, but I think it's a similar thing for something like a Burt Blyleven situation. I think that these internet cases do get helped by having either a high-profile backer or multiple backers. I don't think there was one guy for Blyleven the way it was with Raines and Jonah. But I'm okay with that because he had to go to bat for him because honestly, he was righting what I believe was a wrong. Like, I don't think, if I go to bat for Magglio Ordonez and, let's say I had, 10x the readership that I currently do, and I actually had an impact like Jonah Carey, and I all of a sudden got Magglio Ordonez in the Hall of Fame, then you could say that that's problematic. That's a bad thing. But the fact of it is that Jonah was just righting a wrong, and everyone that he kind of brought onto the bandwagon, I think, realized with the data, not just because they like Jonah, not because he's a nice guy, but because he was correct, that yes, this was the right thing to do. So I agree with you that he probably doesn't get in without the work of Jonah, and that's why he thanked Jonah on the conference call, Tim Raines did. But I don't say that as a negative at all.
Yeah. I forget, I don't remember if it was on the Jonah Carey podcast or another show, but he was saying that people have already been like contacting him to try to do pushes for other guys.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard that. I'm actually speaking of backlog, I got a little bit of a backlog on Jonah's podcast myself, which, by the way, I fully recommend. It is a great podcast, not just for baseball fans, but he has also all sorts of people in pop culture and other sports. But it's a great show. Listen, then you want to be careful there because then it could be disingenuous, right?
Yeah, I think he already said that this was the one he was going in on.
I don't think he would do that. Yeah, I don't think that he would just do it for any cause that people wanted him to take up. For those that don't know about Jonah Carey, he's a big baseball writer from Canada, diehard Montreal fan. He literally wrote the book on Montreal. He has Up and Away, a book on the Montreal Expos. So this is as diehard as it gets. And so for him to take up Raines' case was a perfect fit. But again, if you just say, well, now take up Lee Smith's case, he's smart enough to make he could probably come up with a reasonable case, but it would be completely disingenuous, and I don't think he would do that. And so hopefully we don't see that.
Yeah, that's the Jonah Carey podcast. I believe it's on Nerdist.com. You can find it.
Correct.
I could actually, if there's anybody that I could see him going to bat for, I think it would be like an Edgar,
or a Larry Walker.
Yeah, guys who are, kind of in the same situation where it's not, they don't have the big flashy number that should get them into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Though I feel like 800 stolen bases probably get you in the Hall of Fame.
Should be a flashy number, right? Fifth all time, and I understand that stolen bases, they're certainly better than a save. I don't like to use the phrase "it's a made-up stat" because literally all stats are made up. At some point, they were made up, but stolen base is certainly more palpable than a save, and nobody has any issue with the fact that Hoffman's going to get in next year and almost got in first ballot. So you look at somebody who was fifth ever in stolen bases and first in efficiency, by the way. For anybody who had more than 400 attempts, Tim Raines was first in efficiency, so the most efficient base stealer ever, and he had 954 attempts. So he more than doubled the threshold, and he was an elite base stealer. Again, he was overshadowed. It was the wrong era for him to really get his shine because of Ricky, because Ricky's volume was just so much louder, both in terms of stolen bases, the main category that they both excelled in, and volume in terms of personality. Everyone knows Ricky. He's Ricky. You can't say Tim and everyone knows who you're talking about, but you say Ricky, and we all know that it's Ricky Leday, right? Right, TJ?
Yeah, Ricky Leday, a.k.a. Jaime Ruiz from the great For Love of the Game.
That's right. No, but of course, Ricky Henderson overshadowed Raines a bit through no fault of Raines's, though. Raines was the second best leadoff hitter probably ever, certainly of that era, and he just so happened to play with the best ever. And again, that's not his fault.
You might be able to say Rock, and people will know him. Though I was
exactly
reading,
Rock would probably get you there.
Though I was reading someone's post. Someone did a good write up of all the plaques in the Hall of Fame, and how Babe Ruth has 27 words and 3 lines, but Pedro Martinez is 98 words and 7 lines or something. There's already a person with the nickname Rock on their Hall of Fame plaque.
Well, you know what? Speaking of that, we haven't gotten. I don't know if we're going in an order here, but most everyone listening to this or watching this knows of a particular Pudge, the guy that we're going to talk about. But he's not the first Pudge either. Carlton Fisk is actually Pudge before Pudge Rodriguez.
Is Carlton Fisk even the first one? I thought that was just like a generic catcher term at some point.
Oh, okay. See, you know what? You might be right. I just know that you and I, being a little bit older than maybe the Twitch community at large, we both certainly have some of Carlton Fisk's era in our lifetime, and all of Rodriguez's. But every time, even though my dad adhered to calling Ivan Rodriguez Pudge, he will always made sure to point out that he wasn't even the original Pudge, at least not, again, according to my dad. Maybe there was somebody even before my dad's era that was. In fact, I'm looking at it right now, and you're onto something. There was a guy named Fred Haney from 1922 to 29 who went by Pudge, and then another guy, Sid Gautreaux, from 1936 to 37, he only played 1 year there, who was also nicknamed Pudge. So maybe it is a common nickname there.
Were they catchers by any chance?
Let me see. I posted a link in the chat there. I think it's most commonly associated with Haney was an infielder, and Gautreaux was insignificant. Let's be honest. He played 1 year, but let me see if he was at least a catcher. He was a catcher. So yeah, 3 of them were catchers, and then the Fred Haney guy, the first guy to have that nickname, was an infielder. I think it's associated with Fisk and Rodriguez, though. They share it, and frankly, I'm okay with that because it's a hell of a lot better than calling Rodriguez Irod, which I don't accept at all as a nickname.
I never liked that. I don't know. Did that come? I assume that had to have come after A-Rod, right?
Yeah.
It must have been that generation.
So lazy.
It was just that generation when we had I-Rod, K-Rod, A-Rod.
Well, that's where we're at now. It's so lazy. The nicknames of today, you don't really get many good ones. It's really just initials or the first initial and a shortening of the last name sort of deal, like the I-Rod, A-Rod sort of deal, or OBJ. By the way, it's OBJ for Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. You don't put ODB. That's old dirty bastard.
Yeah.
It does, and not only that, but Odell, the O and the D are not separated. It's not, even if it was O apostrophe Dell, I could hear a little bit more of the ODB.
Is it intercapped?
Are you saying what's intercapped mean? Actually,
Is it like capital O, capital D? It is not.
No, it's not, and that's why I'm sorry I'm off on a tangent here, but it's a bad nickname to begin with because it's lazy just to do initials, but it's also completely wrong. So it's OBJ. But anyway, we're just in a bad era of nicknames, and I think it started with the I-Rod, A-Rod sort of stuff, where we're just not creative with nicknames anymore.
Actually, this trio all has nicknames.
Oh yeah, that's right. And one of them has a really good one.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd say 2. Rock Reigns is pretty good. Although
you could call that a solid name.
Rock? Wait, was he called? That's funny, by the way. Was he called Rock because of his dealings with crack and
Chevrolet? Maybe Chevrolet.
Well, because he did have a drug issue.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. It made it onto some baseball cards as Rock Reigns, so yes. I'm going to assume not.
I mean, I'm going to assume not too, but I'm just saying maybe that's how it came to fruition, and then it kind of stuck as a positive. I don't know. Maybe it was just because he was a solid player. I really don't know. But for Bagwell, it's Bagpipes, which is fantastic. I like that.
Did people call him Baggy? I feel like that wasn't really a thing.
No.
But
no, it was Bagpipes that I heard. Just as much as the I-Rod thing, I reject that secondary nickname. And in fact, Bagpipes should come before Baggy on his BREF, because if you called him Baggy, that's just as lazy as I-Rod.
Yeah, but like Baggy Dome, not lazy.
Oh, for the Hubert Humphrey Metrodome?
Yeah.
I agree with that because you can hit the ball off. Wait, are we getting that state? Oh, wait, never mind. Sorry, wrong game. Can't talk about that game.
You can import the Metrodome into the game.
That's awesome.
I believe there's a video on youtube.com/OOTP developments on how to import games. And on the boards, import fields. And on the boards, there's someone has the files for I want to say it's over 100 classic stadiums you can use.
That's amazing. Although as a Tigers fan, that stadium gives me the shakes. And so I wouldn't personally import it onto my copy of OTP, but I can understand why somebody might want to.
Yeah, so we got these three guys in, aside from Tim Raines's extremely high stolen base numbers, though, you got to give Jeff Bagwell credit. 202 stolen bases.
Right?
As a first baseman.
Nice combo player as a first baseman. He really, you know who could end up being similar, right? We're very early still in his career, so I would be reluctant to tab these expectations on him. But it could be a Paul Goldschmidt situation, right? Mm-hmm. You know, Goldschmidt now has double-digit stolen bases in 4 of his first 5 seasons. He played a little bit in 2011, but I don't count that as a full season. So looking at his full seasons, he's got 18, 15, 9, and that's only a single digit because he was hurt when he got hit by pitch there, and then 21 and 32. So maybe he's kind of the Bagwell of his current era. Of course, with just 5 seasons, he's got a long way to go to being Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah, I think the Diamondbacks need to get Goldschmidt a Biggio for his Bagwellness.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be really nice. They have another. You can go Bash Brother route though, and you got Goldschmidt and Lamb sort of deal if you want to go with that route. But they don't have that dynamic middle of, well, you know who could be it? I know he doesn't play second base the way. I guess that Biggio started catcher, then second, then center. But Pollock could be that answer.
Is he healthy? Is he ever going to be healthy again?
Well, I think he will be. I know that he hurt his elbow, which really sucks. For those that kind of forgot, you know, he hurt himself last year in such a horrific way. Horrific because it was sliding into home on a meaningless spring training game. Mm-hmm. And he was coming off of such an elite season. Now, that comp is just loose because he's kind of a dynamic middle of the field player. It's not really doesn't really hold up because he broke out at age 27. So he can never really have the kind of career that Biggio did. He'd have to play like another 15 years, and he's already 27. So I doubt that, but maybe they could develop somebody.
Bagwell in with 449 home runs, 1,529 RBIs. Not bad.
No, not bad at all. You mentioned this off air before we started about, you know, nobody really has the milestones. And when do you think we'll see another milestone, or do you think the milestones will have to start to come down, or else we're just not going to get them? The 500 homers, the 300 hits, the 3,000 hits, the 300 wins. 300 wins.
Yeah, for pitching, it's now. Those numbers have to come down now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I remember looking a couple, maybe last year or the year before, but it's like, I don't know if anybody's getting to 250 wins again.
Right? I mean, it's just the way the game is. You don't get to go 7, 8, 9 innings all the time anymore. That's really what it was, is that a lot of these guys who, it's not that pitchers were necessarily better back then, it's that they got to go deeper when the game was still in the balance. And so they got even some cheaper wins, or maybe some wins that they maybe didn't deserve because they gave up 6 runs, but their team won 8-6 and they went 9 innings. And so, I agree with you. I just don't think that we're going to see it as much. And I'm okay with that, by the way, because the win stat is ridiculous. But maybe we see the stuff like 3,000 hits and 500 homers because players actually started their careers earlier. The aging curve has moved up a little bit. And so with all these, a lot of these stars coming in their early 20s, they've got a chance to have those 20-year careers that you kind of need to get those thresholds. And by the way, I want to address quickly before you answer that, Evil Man, I'm with you. We gotta stay on the Hall of Fame to get Trammell in. He really should have been in. I don't think Jack Morris should have been in personally, but in terms of Tigers, I fully believe that Trammell should have been in. And TJ, I don't know if you heard this stat. Pudge is the first guy inducted in the Hall of Fame since 1974 to have played even a single game for the Tigers. So it's been a bit of a dry period for us because John Smoltz, who they drafted, was traded before he ever played a game for the Tigers.
It should have been the curse of John Smoltz.
I mean, you could say that, but it was just the curse of being a really bad team. And pitchers are not P words now, Evil Man. They're asked to do something totally different. Back in the day, you were told that you had to go 7, 8, 9 innings, and so you have to pace yourself. In today's game, you're told to go all out for 5, 6 innings, and then the bullpen will relieve you. It's a different game. It's not a matter of guys not being as tough or as good. In fact, pitchers are better these days than they were back in the day. So I fully disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, and they're also not getting as many starts. We're getting more 5, and some teams going with 6-man rotations for a month or two during the season.
Well, and with the money that they're making, they're much more cautious about if there's a tweak or any sort of injury. And that's not necessarily saying that they're P words. That's the team protecting their investment. A lot of these pitchers would pitch through stuff, but it would be ill-advised because they would hurt themselves more. So I think that's a mischaracterization of how pitchers are these days.
Yeah, I think they're much more likely to get that extra day of rest if they need it. It's just worth it to the team in the long run.
Yep, when you're paying $20 million a season, you just got to be smarter about it.
I was trying to see. I know you mentioned the John Smoltz trade. Jeff Bagwell was also one of those.
You want to see if the chat can guess it?
I don't remember if I know it. I do it. Okay, I know it.
Who was he traded? Who was he traded for, Chad? I mean, don't try not to look it up if you know it. It was the Red Sox traded him for, not a great player.
And he was all right, but again, it was one of those. It was one of those past their prime guys they wanted that they thought could help them in a playoff run. Essentially, the same thing the Tigers did with
exactly. It was a win now deal to try to secure themselves for right then in that season without looking at what Bagwell could become. And of course, had they had any idea that he could have been a Hall of Famer, obviously they wouldn't have. Oh, it would have been great if it was Mark Langston. It wasn't even Mark Langston. It was Larry Anderson. Anderson spelled Andersen, for those that want to look him up. A middle reliever.
What I just noticed. This year, Jeff Bagwell went in, started as a third baseman, moved to first. Next year, we could possibly have another.
And you want to give the name, or you want me to give the name?
Can you guess, or do you know the name already? I assume.
I already know that it's Jim Thome.
Yeah, Jim Thome. He could be.
And it could be he could be going in with another pure third baseman, Mr. Chipper Jones. Two guys coming on the ballot who could be first ballot guys. Again, further kind of clogging things up because you want to get a few of the other guys in, but you're going to have to put. I definitely think Chipper for sure. I know some dispute whether Thome is a first ballot guy. TJ, I want to ask you this. How do you feel about first ballot? Do you distinguish? Is it a distinction for you? Or are you of the mind that if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer? It doesn't really matter if it's first or sixth ballot.
I think it's a nice tip of the cap to give it to them if they in that first thing. But again, if it's someone, like if I had 10 votes, all right? And I have 12 guys that I want to put in. I feel like I would, if I did not feel that two of the guys in their first year were in like an elite category, maybe I could understand holding them off for a year.
Well, let's go ahead and move out of the hypothetical realm and talk a little bit real world with next year's ballot and both of those guys coming on. Assuming that you, like me, have upwards of 10 guys that are left on the ballot that you could put in, adding these two, would somebody like a Thome get squeezed off, or is it somebody who's already on the ballot that you would squeeze off?
Well, here's the thing. With this whole crop coming up now and like the upcoming years, these are all the players that I watched like in my baseball watching. Like,
correct. We know
my life changed watching these players play baseball. So I would probably almost definitely put Jim Thome on a first ballot then.
Okay, I can get behind that. So,
but it's a full dance card next year. There's a lot of great options.
So yeah, I'm going Vlad, Edgar, Clemens, Bonds, Mussina, Schilling. Even though he's a dick, that doesn't matter to, like, he sucks as a person, but he's a Hall of Famer in my opinion. Larry Walker for me is in. Chipper, so I'm only at 8 right now. So I do have the 2 spots that I can get. I'll put Hoffman in. I'm not gung ho about him, but I'll put him in. So that's 9. Did I already say Walker? I think I did. Yeah. I'm a little bit torn on Manny because even though I just put in a bunch of guys who are accused, or Bonds and Clemens, he failed twice.
He failed twice and then retired because he knew he was going to fail again, right? Is that essentially what happened?
Correct.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
This is the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes, it is.
Do you take into account any players outside of Major League Baseball stats? Like let's say first ballot this year or next year will be Hideki Matsui.
Ooh. I
Just
don't because
136 home run or 175 home runs, assuming I'm looking at the right column. I don't think I am.
See, it does. Well, he had 175 major league home runs. You're right there, and then hundreds more in Japan. I don't really, because like you said, it is the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Unlike, for example, basketball is the Basketball Hall of Fame, and so they put people in who impacted basketball. And there's there's a separate. Now here's the weird thing though, isn't there?
There are the Negro League guys are in,
but there's also a separate Negro League Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Right. But I think they're in because if times were different, they probably would have been in the major leagues.
That's true, and they should have been. Obviously, that is a stain on our culture for sure. Mm-hmm. That was even happening. Okay, so I don't know.
And they have the All-American Girls Baseball League stuff there. But again, those are at least specifically that it's part of the museum. It's not. There's not like a woman from that in the Hall of Fame. Correct.
And there's plenty of things, by the way. You talk. There's talk of some players who aren't in, and it's like, oh, so and so deserves to be honored. Well, I'll use the name because I was having this discussion with somebody about Steve Garvey. He thinks he should be in the Hall of Fame, and I do not. He's like, well, he was really good for his era, and he deserves to be honored in the Hall of Fame. I say, he is at some. I guarantee there's something in there, whether it's a bat from some big game that he had. Right. Or some account.
There's a picture of Steve Garvey in the Hall of Fame. I can almost guarantee you.
That doesn't mean that he deserves a bust, right? Yeah. And there's that distinction.
Yeah, I was not even a bust, just a plaque. This isn't Canton.
Oh yeah, that's true. Canton is the bust. But in terms of counting their other baseball accomplishments, I don't. And so even if Ichiro had retired short of 3,000, I would still put him in the MLB Hall of Fame, but the fact that he has the 3,000 hits now guarantees it. Mm-hmm. But I don't, unless they make it the Baseball Hall of Fame and it's baseball at large, and they start bringing different things to account for that. Then no. So I think that leaves Hideki Matsui short. It is just called the Baseball Hall of Fame, Coburn. Well, then maybe that changes things.
National Baseball Hall of Fame. So national. This nation. Our country, 'tis of thee. Oh, actually, here it is. The National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum is an American History Museum and Hall of Fame. So I guess technically American.
Yep.
Now, I do wonder what like Ichiro's plaque is going to say. I assume it will not be limited just his major league stats.
Exactly, and that's completely fine. I'm okay with that, being mentioned. Listen, not only does he get in on his own merits for his 15-year career in MLB or whatever it's going to say, it's actually 16 and then 17 this year. For his 17 years in the majors, he's in. But I also want to point, we should also point out, this is the accolades that he had. He was a superstar in his own right before he ever touched foot on our soil. And so I'm fine with that being accounted for within the plaque, but not within the reasons to vote for him, if that makes any sense. Might be making a distinction for no reason there, but that's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I do wonder.
No, sorry, that wouldn't preclude the Expos and Jays though, Evil Man, because
North America.
They're still in MLB.
Yeah, and the continent of North America. Yeah, I wonder if that, not saying it's a bad mindset, but I wonder if that's going to have to change as we go forward. And we
with
see
more and more
yeah,
international folks coming over.
Yeah. And the fact that America does not have a medal in the World Baseball Classic yet. What are we doing?
Exactly. Like, let's chill out, patting our own backs. If we can't even win that.
Japan's
And
going to
I
get
don't
their
know,
fourth gold, and
I was
we're
gonna say,
still over here with a fourth place one time.
we're probably not the favorites this year. You still got to look at the DR and
Yeah, DR,
and
Japan. I feel like Korea's on the upswing.
Yep.
My people in the Netherlands always out there killing it.
Oh, because they get Curacao as well, and so you get some really great middle infielders by having that. Yeah, no, Venezuela's put together some good teams in the past. I don't know where they are currently, but I remember. I think it was the two WBCs or one WBC ago. They had just a ridiculous team. Of course, they've still got Miggy, and anytime you got Miggy, you got a chance.
Yeah. Who else is going? Next year, it's Chip Jones, Tomei, Omar Vizquel. So, like, Omar Vizquel is going to be an interesting one to see what happens there.
Yep. It's defense oriented, so they're not as tangible on the numbers. You can't just, you can point to the Gold Gloves, which he did deserve, but the Gold Gloves were diluted a bit by the fact that a lot of folks who didn't deserve them got them.
Yeah, that's why I wonder. That's why I'm torn on Andrew Jones. Has all the Gold Gloves, and then also ended up putting up some really good numbers.
Yeah,
not average wise, but he put up 434 home runs. Almost 1,300 RBIs.
That's a nice number. That's like a nice little bar trivia number that I think would shock some folks, because I don't think I would have said 434. I think I'd have been closer to like 390 or something. If I'm sullied by it now, I can't give an accurate guess, but I think I would have said sub 400.
Because he's like 15 behind Bagwell.
Wow. So he was a power monster, and he was a defensive stud at perhaps the second most important defensive position, putting catcher on its own for a moment. I'm talking specifically shortstop and center field as the two most important, and I think shortstop's still number one, but then center field right there at number two, and he was as elite gets out there in center field. So he's an interesting case. I don't know that I've got him in, but I would listen to a case for sure.
How about Johan Santana, who might try to come back and pitch for Venezuela this year?
I love Johan Santana. And then that gets to peak versus length, right? Because his career was very short, but he was dominant while he was in it. And
the candles that burn the brightest burn the shortest.
Exactly. It's a Sandy Koufax situation, right? And, Koufax has kind of the quote-unquote excuse of, well, back in their era, they couldn't fix the pitchers the way they could today. That doesn't mean I don't necessarily think you hold that against Santana. If you have injuries that can't be fixed, then that's just the way it is. But I think that's going to be your best case to get Santana in, is to lean on Koufax in what he did. And you'd have to argue the fact that Santana did get his 2 Cy Youngs and was robbed out of a third by everyone's favorite portly fellow, Bartolo Colon. He definitely deserved that one that year. That still annoys me, to be honest.
Yeah,
and worse yet is he finished third because Mariano Rivera finished second, which is just comically ridiculous.
And it's interesting with this new crop, as we said, starting pitching, we're going to have to start re-looking at all the stats and stuff.
Exactly.
All the new guys coming in, save for Jamie Moyer, who pitched for 38 years, they pretty much all have almost 100 less wins than Mike Mussina.
Wow. Yeah, and so, first off, I never like to judge guys on anyway, because it's such a flawed stat. But if you are one of those, you're going to be put into you're going to be forced painting yourself into a corner when you start looking at these other guys and trying to get them into the Hall of Fame, because it's just not going to stack up. So you're going to have to look at other things, and hopefully we start to move away from the reliance upon the win.
Yeah, because you have the big winners are Jamie Moyer with 269, but again 209 losses and pitched for 1 million years. 169 for Kevin Millwood, who went 169, 152 with a 411. 140 for Jeff Suppan, and then you're like in
Jeff
140
Suppan.
for
Let's get Jeff Suppan in there.
Yeah, I feel like aside from for next year, aside from Chipper and Tomei, who I feel should both be in.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm thinking maybe 3 guys stay on this list. No offense to this list. Very good players. I'm looking at Baseball
5%?
References thing. Yeah, because of the 5%. 5% is going to knock off a bunch of these guys. But I'm looking at the Baseball Reference 2018 page.
Can you put that in the chat? Because I was actually looking for that list and I couldn't find it.
Putting that in right now. Yeah, so I'm looking at that. I mean, I kind of wish sometimes we would make stronger cuts, and a lot of these guys aren't just hanging around with 20% for no apparent reason. Why Billy Wagner only has 10%? I mean, ridiculous. But yeah, after Chipper and Tomei, who should probably be first ballot, Rolen and Jones should probably be in. Jones more than Rolen. I guess you got to put Omar Vizquel in for what he did defensively. But other than that, I don't really like anybody on this list for next year.
Is Scott Rolen coming on the list next year? Oh, I'm looking at it now.
Next year's his first year.
Okay. And I think I might contradict myself here because I just said that I don't really care about the first ballot thing. If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe because I would have 10 others that I like, that Rolen would get pushed down. But I like him. I like him.
Yeah, I would say Rolen and Andrew Jones are Hall of Famers.
But they might take a little bit. And I'm okay with that.
I can see them hanging onto the ballot and getting in year 2, year 3, depending on who else.
Again, I don't get freaked out when people say that the first ballot thing is an honor or whatever. But my personal opinion is I'm generally like, well, if you are, you are, and that's okay. But it's not something I make a huge point on. Like I don't freak out over it.
Right. I don't know if Hall of Famers are at the dinner table like, hey, I made it in first, and then Tim Raines is like, hey, I made it in after 15 times.
Well, I think Raines, Smoltz told this to Raines. He said, nobody asks you how long it took you to get in. They just say you're a Hall of Famer. So you're a Hall of Famer.
But you can probably charge like $20 extra to sign first ballot on a ball.
Right?
So, I mean, there's that. But yeah, I'd say those 5 are Hall of Famers. If you want to give Chipper and Tomei, I would say they would be first ballot. Chipper gets in because he does my favorite thing: hit over 300, on base over 400, slugged over 500.
Oh, 300, 400, 500 is so awesome. I love it too. I'm with you. And whenever I see one of my guys have that on OOTP, I get giddy. It's a great threshold to have.
Yeah, I think also, some would say a top 5 switch hitter. I would say a top 3 switch hitter.
Yeah.
That was actually
who's better, Mantle and Murray, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean Mantle. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't hate Eddie Murray.
No, I can
I'll
even
take
listen on that.
Yeah.
I'm open on that. Like that's what I'm saying. The only one that I'm going to lock down, say 100%, is Mantle, and then everyone else I'm going to make you defend it a little bit. But Chipper was just unreal, and I know that you're in the tank for Chipper.
Should we say of Hall of Fame eligible players second? Because I guess you kind of got to put Pete Rose first.
Okay.
Pete Rose is in there, but
that's fine. Yeah.
Home run wise, power wise, you got to give it to those guys.
It's still Chipper, but I would, I think you can make a case for Pete probably in between them, and that's fine. But yeah, among Hall of Fame eligible players, there's a strong case for Chipper as the second best.
Yeah, so we'll just move Murray to 4th.
Do you put Rose in? By the way, while we're talking about guys, it's for me, it's a much different case than the PED stuff.
Yeah, I put the player Pete Rose in.
Yeah.
Well, they have the thing, right? What's that thing?
What? Thing. You're not really giving me much to go off.
In like the things that make you a Hall of Famer.
Oh, like the criteria, you mean?
Yeah, that thing that says
Like the character clause?
Yeah, the character clause. The character clause is what holds him out.
Absolutely.
On the field, definitely deserves to get in.
100,000,000%. Like, that's not even
But-
up for debate. And that's the unfortunate thing, is that he was such a surefire guy on the field. But then he just, I mean, he broke the most important, like the biggest rule they have. And they plastered everyone.
Rule number one.
Don't bet. And here's the thing, and this is so obvious that we talk about it across politics, with pop culture folks who get in trouble, and with sports. The cover-up is always worse than the offense. And the fact that he just lied so blatantly for so long is what really does him in, perhaps even more than if he'd just fallen on his sword and done everything he could to try to beg for mercy. I'm not saying that would have gotten him in, but the entire rigmarole after the offense is really what does it more than the offense for him.
Yeah. And then another thing is when he kind of came clean a little bit, but didn't he say like he never bet on his team to lose?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Something like
a lot of people heard that and were like, oh, good, he never bet on his team to lose. But that means every time that he didn't bet on his team to win, I mean, you can't come to me and say that he was trying to win all those games that he did not bet on his team to win.
Exactly.
If it was just, my closer has been, I used my closer for two. Oh, I mean, they didn't really have closers back then. But it's like, I have this guy in the bullpen and I could bring him in. I don't have any money on tonight's game. I have money on tomorrow night's game. So maybe give him that extra day of rest.
Differently.
Yep.
You're 1,000,000% correct. And it's not just about if you bet on them to win or to lose. It's that you manage differently when you put some money on it, right? I mean, it could be as high stakes as MLB baseball, or you and I could play a game of OOTP, put $10 on it, and we're going to play our hearts out a lot differently than if we just say, let's run a game for nothing. Right. I mean, that dynamic changes things no matter how you slice it. And he just constantly lied about it.
Yeah. And again, doing the PEDs, that's hurting you. You get caught, that hurts you. But the stuff he did, that hurt the team, like his team.
Yep.
And the players. And I assume those were good teams. I assume he was managing, right? Because
I think they were still quality teams. Not quite Big Red Machine, but up there. I mean, just good. Yeah.
So, I mean, what could those teams have done with a manager that was trying to win every night? I mean, I don't know.
Why did he have to be such a degenerate? And I mean, he kind of remains a degenerate, right? He lives in Vegas. It's like gambling is his life, man. Yeah. That is his life.
I mean,
it's frustrating, right? Because you watch him and he's like, he can be an endearing dude. When you see him on TV being a goober, there's something endearing about it. He seems like just a nice enough guy, just misguided as all get out. And I mean, he screwed himself though. Like, it's your bed, you got to lie in it, man. I can only feel bad for him up to a point. Because then you just go back and you're like, you did all of it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there are other sports where people, it's like, look, I'm not saying that gambling is bad. I'm saying that you have a job and you know the rules of your job.
Mm-hmm.
And you break a rule of your job. It's like,
there are consequences.
That you have to have consequences. There's a lot of athletes in other sports that do other things that are illegal, and people are like, "Oh, well, that shouldn't be illegal." It's like, it's still illegal.
Doesn't really matter. You can say that it shouldn't be illegal,
yeah.
But
and gambling on baseball has always been the number one thing for over 100 years.
Yep, and they just don't accept it on any level. And that's because they need integrity in the games. And of course, in today's day and age, players are paid so much that it would be hard to corrupt them. But of course, it's still banned and should be and all that. I'm just saying that. But back then, they didn't make these hand over fist salaries where they're just getting gobs upon gobs of money. So you could corrupt them without even that much money, right? You say, I'll give you 10 G's here because I'm going to bet on y'all to win 80 G's or something like that. And so you could actually do it because they had jobs in the off season, for crying out loud. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have an outrage if he got like, I'm at the point where I would not have an outrage if Pete Rose got in, but I fully understand why he's not, and I can't make the case that he has to be.
Can we get Shoeless Joe in, and then we can start worrying about other stuff?
Right?
I wonder.
We'll see how that goes. Right? All that stuff is, even with Rose himself, all that's in the hands of committees now, because the writers will no longer have to or get a chance to vote on any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And again, it's not the Hall of Fame. Well, I guess technically it is Hall of Fame, keeping him out, but the Major League Baseball put him on that ineligible list, and then the Hall of Fame just uses that list.
As Red Sox mentioned, once he was put on that in the early 90s, all they have to do is point to that and say, listen, the rules.
Because they just don't want to be in – they don't want to be the people swinging the sword.
That's true, by the way, that Red Sox – it's all in the hands of Rob Manfred, and what I meant is that he could throw it to a committee to say, hey, because I don't know that he would want to make a solo decision. I think if he were to reopen it, he would say, okay, I'm going to open it back up, and we're going to have a 7-person committee that includes me and whomever else, and then we're going to make decisions on it. But I don't know that that's in what's going to end up happening, and this is where I would feel a little bit bad for him, is it's probably going to happen after he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if we go through all this hand wringing and then they put him in after he's dead, that almost seems like an FU to him, you know, like you don't get to enjoy it, but we are going to make sure that you're recognized in there. And I don't know if I would feel great about it.
I haven't been there in like 17 years. I've never
been there, which is pathetic. I know. I need to change it. Are you going to ask if he has any?
I assume he's got to have stuff in there. I feel like does. I remember he
absolutely does.
It's actually funny. I was having a conversation with someone today. I was like, I feel like the Hall, while it's the Hall of Fame, I feel like that's the least best part of that museum.
Oh yeah, I mean that's for the players themselves, but in terms of going to it, it seems that, like you're saying, all the other stuff is what people who go to it enjoy and look for. Again, I have not yet been there. I need to right that wrong very, very quickly, by the way, because it's terrible that I haven't. But I need to save up like $5 billion because I hear that there's so much amazing stuff that you can get in the souvenir shops that I know I'm going to be out there dropping a couple bills right off the bat.
Yeah, I asked my wife today. I was like, "How old does this kid have to be to appreciate the Hall of Fame?"
Yeah. I went to the Football Hall of Fame. We went to Canton when I was probably only 8 or 9, and I have some memories of it, but I didn't get to fully appreciate it. So honestly, I would say double digits. You want the kid to be double digits.
But I feel like if I can do it right when he's getting into baseball.
I know. Well, listen, maybe your kid will have a better memory than I do. And if you take him when he's 8 or 9, then he'll remember it. But I think that nerd peak where kids are just so invested in sports, I think is in that 10 to 15 range.
Yeah,
maybe cuts off a little earlier, but once girls start to get into the picture, and it's not that they don't still love sports, but when you can just full out nerd out on it and it is your life. And you're out there tweeting at players to do well because it's everything. I think that's when you could take them and it would just be everything.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to go. So it's only like a 3.5 hour drive, and there's nothing really there. So it's just the one town. So. Yeah.
Like I said, I need to go. Maybe I'll wait until somebody I really love. I love watching a lot of players, but I haven't seen. No one's really gone in recently that was everything to me. And maybe if Trammell went in, I would make the trek for sure, or I'd certainly be inclined to. I'm trying to think of who could come in the near future where I'd be like, ooh, I got to go for that.
Let me just tell you what I did recently. I don't know if you've been following the at OOTP Twitter at OOTP Baseball on Twitter. If you're not, make sure you get on that. I recently did a little sim with the idea of what if Bo Jackson never went to the NFL?
Let's see.
And just kind of simmed out his career. I have that save file up right now. So we've been looking at a couple of guys from that. Pedro Martinez becomes ungodly. Well, I mean, Pedro Martinez is kind of ungodly to start with.
I was going to say he was ungodly. That would have been a cool one to go to. I do love Pedro.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever afford going to one. If I could go next year to Chipper. What if I get... Maybe we can get Out of the Park to send me up there for Chipper Jones' induction.
Oh, my God.
And I will... I'll just be crying and lose my mind all day.
I mean, since you are close where you only have to do the drive, you don't necessarily have to get a room for much more than maybe a night. It's not like some people who have to kind of come from Atlanta or
But then I can't pull a Jonah Carey and like sneak into a party in like a t-shirt and
shorts.
That's
That's true. It would be cool to kind of hang and really try to insinuate yourself into as many of the goings on as you could. So I understand. I understand that would be part of the greatness if you could do that.
So in this Bo Jackson sim, he ended up hitting 360 home runs, 2,100 strikeouts. Led the league in Ks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Holy cow!
6, 7, 8 times. Couple 200 years.
Insane.
An early Adam Dunn.
Yeah. Although without the walks, so not even. Because Adam Dunn was at least walking. This is more of a Dave Kingman sort of deal, but his defense was so elite. Although it doesn't really show up because look at his WAR totals; they're not great.
Yeah, his WAR was not great. You know what I noticed is a lot of people didn't really like break through in this sim.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the guys that ended up breaking through in that era didn't necessarily come to fruition here.
Yeah, because I simmed from 87 to 2016. Like Tim Wakefield apparently didn't even make the pros.
Oh, he stayed as a first baseman. He never converted the pitcher.
Didn't know that.
We'll go ahead and go to my boy Curtis Granderson then. Might as well see what he became.
Curtis Granderson. Ooh, retired already. Also, let me tell Adam to come in. Adam's going to take over the stream at the top of the hour.
In about 4 minutes.
Yeah. I know he had some people he wanted me to look up. Curtis Granderson didn't do much. I wonder if there was an injury or something here.
I mean, he really wasn't a huge prospect though, so I can see how that happens in a sim, and it would probably happen in a decent percentage of sims where he just doesn't come to fruition because he was like a third, fourth round pick.
And then lots of injuries. He had a strained muscle, missed 3 weeks, fractured a foot, concussion, knees, bad knees left and right. You know who really got messed up?
Who?
Randy D. Johnson.
No.
Never. He had control problems in Montreal, and he just never put it all together. Won like 90 games in the minor leagues. Never really broke through. Got traded for Charlie Leibrandt. Him and a bunch of prospects for Charlie Leibrandt.
For Charlie Leibrandt. Okay. Sweet.
People want to see David Wright.
He retired in 96. Interesting.
Adam, welcome to the stream. Adam, Paul, Adam.
What's up, Adam?
Oh, not much. You, Paul?
Oh, not too much. Just hanging out.
David Wright played for the Twins. Not the Twins. The Reds and the White Sox.
That's really interesting.
Nothing. Didn't do much. 9 homers in the pros.
Have you looked at
you weren't kidding about guys just not breaking out.
But some guys, monsters.
Did anybody explode beyond their actual career?
Pedro.
Did anybody go the other way?
I'm going to bring up Pedro right before we get out of here. Mo Vaughn ended up with 493 home runs, 306 average, 382 on base, 503 slug.
Impressive.
You know who else got messed up in this? Nolan Ryan tore a flexor muscle in like 89, and he was like gone by 90.
GG.
You're gonna look at this Pedro Martinez screen and you're gonna like lose your mind.
Oh, I can't wait.
Pedro Martinez, a starting pitcher. Not this one. There's too many Pedro Martinez's out there. Oh, he's got a middle initial. Anybody know Pedro Martinez's middle initial?
M. No,
Nope.
I don't think that's it. I'll find it for you. Hang
I think
on.
it's a J.
Oh, I think you might be right.
Yes.
Pedro Jaime Martinez. Good
Pedro
call.
Martinez, the number one in Ks per 9 with 11.4 in the history of baseball.
Holy
That's
hell.
like it's almost it's like 3/4 of a K more than whoever is number one right now.
That's filthy.
5,208 strikeouts. That would make him number 2.
What? Behind Nolan IRL?
He put
Holy
up.
crap.
I don't know how this happened. 422 in 96.
Oh,
But he wasn't
my.
messing around. He was pitching 280 innings.
That's the thing. Look at, and for Philly, St. Louis, little bit of Detroit action. I'll take it.
You got him
Evil
there for a
Man, he's
minute.
still in here. We got 2 years of Pedro.
But I mean, the strikeouts are a little inflated, but I mean, these are numbers you can put up when you're getting 35, 36 starts a year.
That's the thing. What this looks like, too, is that in this universe, they don't start, going to more of skipping guys or overly protecting them. Guys pitch, and it kind of keeps some of that 80s, 90s innings totals. And imagine that. And now, of course, you said Randy didn't break out the way he did in real life, but imagine him with those innings totals. He would have put up similar numbers too. He even had a few career 300s in our life. So imagine what he would have done here if he had stayed on his actual trajectory. But these numbers are disgusting. They're absolutely amazing.
Greg Maddux stayed with the Cubs his whole career.
You doing good?
112 WHIP, 211 wins. He had injuries.
Oh, still pretty good.
Torn meniscus in 89. Labrum, he tore his rotator cuff twice in 3 years.
Oh, dang.
And then
he was good, not great, right?
Yeah.
Total walk master.
He had a .96 WHIP 1 year. And
non-walk master, as it were. Red Sox been requesting Matt Stairs as our closer here.
I know Adam is itching to get on the stream, so I don't want to hold him back.
I don't know how you didn't go Larry Walker. What happened to him?
Oh, good. God. Adam, you're delaying your own stream. Matt Stairs.
I know, but there's so many questions.
49 jacks for
questions.
a couple years with the Tigers.
Oh, sweet. We had Matt Stairs as well. This is the greatest universe of baseball ever.
Sorry, Adam, who'd you say?
Larry
Walker.
Larry Walker. Also, A-Rod's a monster.
Huge surprise.
Larry Walker. 330 career average, 404 on base, 550 slug.
There it is, our 300, 400, 500.
365 home runs.
325
325 stolen bases.
Yeah, I love that. So he was the combo, like the all-around player that he was in real life too, and healthier it looks like.
Yeah, he never really got hurt. A-Rod, he must have just retired. Or no, he retired in 2014. 627 home runs, 293 average, 346 on base, 523 slug.
Wow.
Pretty good. 3,200 home runs. Jeter did not fare as well, if I remember.
I'm salty.
Played with the Flo Marlins for a long time.
Oh, wow. That's probably why he never took off with the Marlins.
Still played good. 307 average, 363 on base.
Okay.
2,700, almost 2,800 hits. I mean, not bad. But
I see you, A-Rod, with your 63 homer season in '99 for Cleveland.
I was looking at that too.
David Ortiz still playing.
Yeah, Jeter's still good.
David Ortiz still playing. 700 home runs.
Not great. 700?
Yep. Still playing. Only led the league once.
Oh, my God. So he went Hank Aaron style.
Do you know why he only led the league once?
Because of some other beast?
You got to look up one more for me before we go for sure, and that is Kirby Puckett.
Ooh, good call.
I like it.
Mark McGwire broke into the year in 1987.
69
home runs and 186 RBIs right off the jump.
That's insane.
Oh my God. He hit 50 or more home runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times.
A 10.2 WAR season.
Yeah,
that's some
nasty.
Trout stuff right there. Wow. And it was mostly Oakland and then a little bit of bouncing around in his 30s.
Yep.
where he was still. By the way, how
went to Yankee
crazy
Stadium,
would that
hit
be?
64 home runs, no big deal.
Just at 35, that's exactly what would happen for the Yankees too. They always like Matt Holliday's probably going to hit like 35 this year for no dang reason.
The one thing I did notice, a lot of these guys kind of hit a wall. Like you see, at 35 years old, played 162 games, 64 home runs. Next season, 85 games. Then some.
I've noticed
10
that
games,
in a lot of baseball games, unfortunately, where they hit that wall. They just drop. They don't have that smooth decline. They just end.
Let me check injuries too, because usually you find an injury somewhere. Tore an ab muscle for 5 weeks. Yeah, that was the thing with Nolan Ryan. He like tore a flexor tendon or something, and it was like the next 2 years were garbage, and then retired. Barry Bonds, the center fielder, the right fielder. Oh no, that's Bobby. 2 Bobbies. Barry Bonds, I noticed this also with Ken Griffey Jr. Some of these guys that were speed guys young never really matured into their power. Bonds ended up with 288 home runs, 169 stolen bases, huge on base numbers.
You didn't click the PEDs button, that's why, in your commissioner settings.
Also probably true. Pittsburgh, he went to California for a little bit, then Anaheim, though I guess second with the same team.
I like how he still ventured out to California. It was just with a different team.
Mm-hmm. Also, he was another one hit by injuries. Tore his ankle, missed 6 weeks. Ham bone, missed a couple months.
Wow, he's
Achilles, a bunch of stuff. And a lot of these guys, injuries pile up like normal baseball players.
You know what ended up being really funny though was he had that year where he had 156 walks. Bonds did without being that power threat.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of funny right there.
Yeah, that was Griffey. Yeah, Junior stayed more of a speed guy. Ended up with 439 steals, but only 273 home runs.
Oh wow! I love it.
Anybody else?
TJ, we should probably cede to Adam.
Adam, anybody else before we go?
I told you, Kirby Puckett, man.
Kirby.
Oh yeah, Puckett.
That can be the one to wrap up on.
Okay, he's retired. This is the same Kirby Puckett.
Hopefully he's still alive.
Is he?
That would just be sad.
Would he be 56 years old if he was alive?
That sounds
they're about
close.
Absolutely.
He is the manager for the Dayton Dragons in.
Good.
So we're good here.
I like that alternate universe where he's still alive. He was he was good.
Kirby Puckett, 316, 353, 464, 195 home runs. He was just good. A couple 200 hit seasons.
Yeah, just looks like like you said, just a good player still.
223 hits with the Toronto Blue Jays in 1994.
Interesting.
Oh, crap.
Oh, and there's no strike season, of course, so that
Right, strike does not happen.
I like that.
Adam wanted to see something. Adam, do you have one more minute?
Yeah.
I just got to remember how to get there. Hold on. Because I know you wanted to know who won everything.
Oh, the titles.
Yeah.
Blue Jays somehow pulled together a good team in the early 90s. We could spend all time looking at Joe Carter and
I don't know if you see my
John
Tigers never won
Olerud.
anything.
David Cohn. What happened to him in this?
Jared Weaver's still getting it done. He's the ERA leader for the Twins.
Cone never really mattered much. I think it was injuries and stuff.
Oh,
So I started this in '87. So the Mets had won the World Series in '86, as you may remember. Went back to the World Series in '87, lost to the A's, won back-to-back years, and then lost in '90 to the Royals. That's
is that like a dynasty?
Yeah, they went to the World Series 5 years in a row.
Hey, we won.
The
Tigers
Grisham
won
is smiling somewhere.
Padres won
2015.
Padres won 4 out of 5. Braves got one. Mets actually did really good because they won another 3 in a row.
We went in 99, 95. Yeah, go Tigers.
Yeah, see. And the Red Sox win in 2001. Would they win in? What was it in real life that won?
04? Yeah.
So, they were right there. Do you want to know who was on that Tigers team? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, just the one that won.
Where's
2015 team that
2015?
won.
2015 Tigers. Interesting.
Yeah, because that's going to be all jumbled up, right?
What was it? 2015. Sorry.
Yeah.
Their team Well, yeah, this is no wonder. We'll go by. They got 23 wins out of Madison Bumgarner, 18 out of Wade Miley,
Yeah.
17 out of Ross Detweiler. Scott Matheson had 14.
What?
Phil Hughes went 9-9.
Oh, sweet. I always liked Phil Hughes.
Cliff Lee must have got hurt or something. I don't know why I had Cliff Lee. Oh, you traded him to the Mets.
Who are our lit hitters?
I'll go up. You got, first off, Shea. Can I tell you how good Shea Hillenbrand is in this?
What?
449 home runs, 334, 368, 538.
It's
slash.
Stuff like that I absolutely love.
Cardinals, Boston, Cubs. Shea Hillenbrand did it all. But you also have, these are fielding stats. Where do you want to go? We'll go by home runs. You got Cargo, 36
Nice.
jacks, 313 average.
Did I see Francisco Lindor?
Maybe, but you have Jose Altuve playing second for you.
Love it.
Can I do this by who played most? No.
Oh, Sal Perez, Odubel Herrera. This is fantastic.
Overbay, LaRoche, Altuve. You got Billy Hamilton. You got that speed.
No wonder the team's lit.
You got Juan
Frazier.
Lagares doing work out there. Oh, you have Lindor and Altuve. Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Oh, what?
All right.
Hold on, wait. We must know.
What? How Puig is?
No, how is Pat Burrell?
I love that.
I don't need his pitching stats. I need his real baseball
as well.
stats. Pat Burrell, 480 home runs. Yes, he did it. Led the
he was
league in
monster.
2003. Yes.
So he stayed healthy and continued to be a beast. Or not continue, but panned out on the hype that he had in our real timeline.
Yeah.
Well, TJ, we got to feed Adam, and your boy here needs to eat dinner, so
Yeah.
it's getting late.
Thank you guys for coming on. Appreciate it. Adam, sorry we took so much of your time.
No, it's quite okay.
Thanks for hanging out, chat.
Puig's a
TJ, thanks for
monster.
having me on.
Yes, Paul, thank you very much for coming here. Make sure you follow Paul on Twitter at Sporer, SPRO.
SPORER.
Yeah. And you can also watch him. He streams video games here on Twitch, twitch.tv/psporer24. You can see him in the chat. And if you're watching the archive, I'll put the link down below.
Big stud.
But yeah, definitely follow him and definitely check out his podcast, The Sleeper and the Bust. Anything good recently? Because I am far behind.
Yeah, I think they're all good, of course. So, yeah, we're starting our team-by-team previews for the fantasy seasons. So you can definitely hit that up. I put a link in the chat. And we'll be covering every team, kind of diving in, giving some of our favorite players, some of the stayaways, and all that sort of stuff. So you have that to look forward to over the next couple of weeks.
Yep, fangraphs.com/fantasy/podcast. Go hit that subscribe button in your podcast app of choice. Adam, thank you very much for joining us. You can stay right here and watch Adam and Jeff and the Franchise Hockey Manager stream. We would definitely recommend hitting us up on Twitter at OOTP Baseball. Also Facebook.com/OOTP Baseball. News is coming. I can't be super specific because I don't know if we've gotten approvals for everything. But news is coming. You will know OOTP 18 stuff in the near future. So hang on to your butts because info is on its way.
I look forward to it. All right, TJ, thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys again. I accidentally hit mute too early. Don't forget to stick around for Adam's stream right after this. Take it easy, folks. Have a good one.